Hello, and welcome to my series on how to play the guitar. First thing we're going to cover is how to choose a guitar. The first thing we're going to talk about with that is the difference between a cheap guitar and an inexpensive guitar. Cheap guitars are the kind that fall apart, they don't stay in tune, they're not very user-friendly, to put it in one way. Inexpensive guitars, on the other hand, are just guitars that can be had for around $200 to $400, but they still play very well. I would highly encourage you to try to find a guitar that's well made. A cheap guitar is just going to frustrate you. They won't stay in tune. They're difficult to play, and the more you try to learn on a cheap guitar, the more frustrated you're going to get. Whereas if you get a good, inexpensive instrument to start out with, you'll be more likely to continue to play. It'll stay in tune. It won't be so frustrating. It'll be a little easier to play. And you'll be pleased with the results as you progress in your skills as a musician. The second thing I want to talk about is the difference between an acoustic guitar and an electric guitar. An acoustic guitar is one that can be played without any amplifiers, any kind of electric augmentation. You can take an acoustic guitar to the beach and play along without having to drag an amplifier or anything like that. The advantages of an acoustic guitar, like I said, you don't have to have an amplifier. The disadvantages is that, as a general rule, acoustic guitars are a little harder to finger. What's referred to as the action, I'll tell you what the action is later, is a little bit harder on an acoustic guitar than on an electric guitar. And of course, the advantage to electric guitar is you can play it on stage and have a big amplifier and, make some eardrums bleed. And they're also easier to play. This particular guitar is an Ovation. It is an acoustic electric, which is it can be played as an acoustic, but it also has a built-in amplifier, so you can plug it into an amplifier and play it that way. This is a good versatile guitar for playing at parties where you don't have any amplification, or if you want to play on stage, you can plug it in and play it on stage. Some examples of acoustic guitars. This is an Ovation. Martin's a big one. Takamine makes a real good one. Electric guitars would be things like a Stratocaster, Gibson Les Paul, SGs, things along those lines. Those tend to be a little more expensive because they have all the electronics in them. Acoustics tend to be a little cheaper, but then again, you can't plug them in. You can, however, microphone them. If you're ever on stage, you can put a microphone here at the sound hole and record that way. Now we're going to talk about some things to look for when you're buying a guitar. First thing, most important probably, is the action that I was talking about earlier. The action refers to how easy or how difficult the guitar is to play. One way to check the action is to turn it sideways and look at the strings. How far off of the bridge are they? The higher up they are, the harder the guitar is going to be to play. On the other hand, you don't want to get them too low because then you get this buzzy sound like that, and that is not something you want to have. The closer the strings are to the fretboard, the more likely they are to buzz on a fret. And another thing regarding the action is that you want to look at the neck and make sure that it's straight. You don't want a bowed neck or a warped neck, because what will happen then is as you're playing in the middle, you'll get the buzzing on either end. So you want to make sure the neck is good and straight, and when you're purchasing a guitar, it helps to sight down the neck as well and make sure that it's not tilted either direction, and make sure that it's lined up well with the body of the guitar. This part of the guitar is called the tuning head, and these are called the tuning keys. They are what are used to actually tune the guitar. The most important thing to consider with these is the gear ratio. And what that means is how many times you have to turn this in order to get this thing, which the string is attached to move. The higher the gear ratio, the better off you are. The reason for that is, as you're tuning, if this moves very slowly relative to this, then you have a much easier time of getting the string into proper tune. So you can slowly turn this and get exactly on the note that you're trying to achieve. There are 6 of these on a 6-string guitar, one for each string. When you're buying an instrument, you want to make sure that they're easy to turn, that there's no difficulty turning them. Sometimes the gears get dirt in them, and that's not a good thing, because that means that the gears are going to fail eventually, and then you'll never be able to keep your guitar in tune again. So check all 6 of these and make sure that they all turn easily. Sometimes you can put some machine oil in the gears, and it'll help them to turn a little better. But in general, if they're difficult to turn, you've probably got a guitar that hasn't been well maintained, especially if it's a used one, and you want to stay away from that. This part of the guitar is called the bridge, and you can see this is where the strings end. This particular bridge is made of nylon. Some of them are metal. Some of them have individual little bridges for each string that can be adjusted, so you can individually adjust the height of each string. The thing you want to look for when you're looking at the bridge is to make sure that it's not chipped or cracked or broken in any way or warped. If that's the case, it can be replaced. Usually if it's a plastic or nylon one, it can be replaced fairly cheaply. But it is a good idea to check it so you don't have any disappointments when you get home with your instrument. If you're buying from a music store, they can usually replace the bridge fairly inexpensively. Finish up this video, we're just going to talk about some things you might want to purchase and help to take care of your guitar with. This is a hard shell guitar case. It has the benefit of being pretty solid. So if you're traveling with your guitar, if you drop your guitar by accident, this has a tendency to protect it from getting too dinged up. You can also buy cloth and vinyl bags for your guitar, but they don't have the advantage of being hard enough to keep the guitar from being damaged in case you drop it or anything like that. It's also helpful to polish your guitar on occasion. You can buy guitar polish at most music stores. It's relatively inexpensive, and just use a good fine cloth to polish it up, and that protects the wood and keeps it nice and fresh. Another thing that you might want to purchase is a tuner. This is an electronic tuner. It runs on a little 9-volt battery. I've had this thing for about 10 years and it's never failed. The advantage of having a tuner is that you don't have to try to tune the guitar by ear. It's very accurate and it helps you to stay in tune. Another thing is a capo. This capo, what it does, it acts as a extra finger so that you can actually change the key of the song that you're playing. You can move it up and change the pitch, and that way you don't have to try to transpose. And this thing is a speed tuning device. This is probably $2 or $3. What you use that for is if you're changing strings, rather than having to sit there and just constantly turn, you put this on there and just spin, and it pulls the string up a lot faster than having to turn it by hand. One final word of caution: if you're traveling with your guitar, even if it's in a case, you don't want to leave it in a hot car overnight. Guitars are usually made of wood, and they're very sensitive to temperature. And I've seen a lot of guitars die painful deaths by sitting in cars, getting overheated. The neck pops off, the bridge pops off. It's not pretty. Also, you want to keep your guitar as moisture-free as possible. If it's raining outside, don't stand outside and play it. That's pretty much it for this one. Next time we're going to talk about how to tune your guitar. Thanks for watching.